Zoha, um, what do you do when you're married?
Um, I'll tell you what I did today. I dropped chocolate on myself, and then I didn't want to change because I'm lazy, so I like really tucked my top in to my trousers because I was just like, it's fine, no one's gonna see it. So that's what I've done as a married woman today.
Like, what do you do when you're married? I have genuinely freaked out this week, and I just don't know what married people do. I even asked my parents, I was like, so when I get married, am I meant to wake up each day with the same person and have not obviously with the same person, that's the whole point of marriage.
Ideally,
But I mean, am I meant to um are we meant to wake up and have breakfast at the exact same time every day? Are we meant to wait for each other for dinner? Are we meant to like do everything together? Can I go on a walk by myself, or do I have to go with my husband or my partner? I just had all these questions from my family this week, and I feel like at my age, I should kind of know what I'm meant to do when I'm married.
you're. It sounds like you're really complicating it. No, not even complicated. It sounds like you're going to join a zoo as a pet animal as opposed to get married to someone. No, I'm pretty sure I had the same questions when I was getting married, but again, I'm very lucky in that the partner that I had, I was with him for about 2.5, 3 years before we got married, and we were very comfortable with each other before that, and very open in terms of communication. So there was no expectation of, oh, you're gonna cook me dinner every night. We're gonna have to sit down together and eat, or there was never like, oh, if I'm waking up at 7, you have to wake up at 6:30 and have breakfast ready. It's a very different generation. So whereas my parents expected me to do things like that, there's no expectation in my house for any of that. So my parents find it really strange if my husband goes out with his friends and I am chilling at home, but that's very normal. They also find it really strange that I went for a walk alone the other day, um, while he was working at home. They were like, "Are you okay? Are you fighting?" I'm like, "No, I just needed some space, so I went for a walk, and it's fine." Um, so there's a massive generation gap in terms of marriage and the expectations that it comes with. Financial things are the weirdest because I don't expect him to just spend all his money on me. Like, I can't bring myself to say, "Oh, can you please buy me this?" It's very different because with my parents, the expectation is always, you know, it's everyone's money, even though one person may be working really hard for it or two people may be working really hard for it. And that is a norm in Pakistan as well. So it's very, very different. But yeah, we don't, the meals and stuff, it's not like that.
Okay, so of course this sounds like a silly question, but I feel like I have to unlearn a lot of the things that I think I thought you have to do or you must do. So I also have been with my other half for a while. But the point being is my whole life I've kind of grown up, and my grandparents, even sometimes my parents have been like, सोनिया जब आपकी शादी होगी ना, ये आप ऐसे नहीं हो सकती. I'm like, guess it.
Oh, I've had that.
Guess it. And they're like, you know, थोड़ी सी I don't even know how to say what they say, but they're like, you have to lower your voice, or don't you have
Stop
to be
having opinions.
you have to be calmer, or
Yeah.
you have to learn how to do the cooking, the cleaning, the dishwashing, the raising the kids, and the juggling the finances. And I'm like, do I? Because making roti was not in my plans. They're like, nay, nay, usne roti khana hoega. I'm like, he's grown up in England. He doesn't want roti. He wants a beef steak. He's like, so are you gonna make him beef steak? I was like, probably not, because I don't eat beef. They're like, nay, 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 ऐसे नहीं हो सकता. उसके लिए भी कुछ करना होएगा. I'm like, well, I'm getting married to him. I feel like that's kind of doing something for him, and then we're just starting a journey together. They're like, no, but even if because I don't really like meat except chicken. And it hasn't been a problem in all the while that I've been with my other half. He's never been like, you have to eat anything else, or he's never been like, you have to cook something that isn't this. Of course, one day I'd love to be able to cook, but the point is that I go to my grandparents, and every time I go there, they're like, so have you learned how to make a lamb dish? I'm like, no, I haven't. I've learned how to start a business, and I run 2 businesses. हाँ ये तो ठीक है, but रोटी किसने पकानी है? It's like, what? Not just to me. But I think I've just psyched myself out to be like, this is what's expected. What am I getting into? And then I know it's another silly thing, but I see a lot of like people who are married, ladies who are married, wear a lot of shalwar kameez. So in my head, I was like, do I have to buy a lot of shalwar kameez now? And is that something I have to wear because I'm married after like the age of 40? Like, is that what I'm getting myself into? And these are actual thoughts.
This is the end of the line. This is what you have to do. You're going to be cooking roti every day, and you have to wear shalwar kameez. You will have to burn your jeans and your dresses. That's the rules. If you want to get married, that's what you have to do. No, I'm not kidding. Seriously. No, but you're right, because all of this, the constant input of expectations, you end up feeling like you have to completely change who you are just to be married. And I've been married for a year and a half now, and I have not changed. There's some things that I wish I had changed, but like the chocolate spilling incident, but I haven't. And that's absolutely fine, because at the end of the day, my partner knew who he was marrying. I knew who I was marrying, and that was enough for both of us. You know, the whole, you have to learn how to make a roti. That came up for me as well, because I don't eat lamb. And I remember once my mom was like, but he likes lamb, so what if he asks you to make lamb? What if he wants to eat lamb? And I'll be like, then he can make himself lamb. Or we can go out to a restaurant and he can order a lamb dish and I can have a chicken dish. It's fine. But yeah, all of these questions and expectations, and it just really messes with you. Because again, there's such a massive generation gap that your understanding is so different.
Yeah, I definitely think it's messing with me. I didn't think it would mess with me. I'm like, super strong, independent, feminism, great. I'm leading that feminist agenda. But it just got to the point where the last few weeks I've had these random questions being asked by people around me, or just silly questions, and it just makes me think, though, again, this has got nothing to do with my partner. He knows exactly what he's getting himself into, and he's the first person to be like, if you're not doing it before marriage, then I cannot expect it from you after, because I know exactly who you are and you know who I am. So it's not him that has the doubts, and luckily he's very chilled about the whole scenario. But I'm very much like, I'm like, okay, so we get married. So do I move in that day? Do I move my stuff in beforehand? And then when we get married, what do we do after? And then how do we start being married? And then what if we can't just handle each other anymore and I just want to go home for a bit? Is that okay? Is that allowed? What if I want to go on holiday with the girls? Does that mean I can't stay out anymore? Does that mean I can't go to overnight parties? Can I have a sleepover? I have all these things going through my head. And he's like, it's good. We'll get to it when we get to it. I'm like, no, but I want to know what I'm getting myself into. Is this, what is marriage? And then obviously coming from a Pakistani background, I can't help but have these small instances plugging at me every time I think something. And though my parents and my grandparents and my uncles and aunties are very modern at the moment, sometimes they still have these not so modern comments come out. And I'm like, is that really what you think? So am I expected to think like that? Why can't, and the roti thing, actually it's me who eats the roti. I'm super Pakistani in my taste buds. So I need roti and salan every other day. I just need it. I need dal chawal at least once a week. I just can't live without dal chawal.
Oh, dal chawal is so good.
Love dal chawal. Or chicken biryani. Just need chicken biryani once a month. Dal chawal needs to be once a week. It needs to be done. But my other half isn't like that. But it's crazy that my elders are not thinking about my eating habits, and I'm like, oh, you need roti because you've had roti your whole life. They're like, but he's a Pakistani man. He's gonna want roti and lamb. That's what they have. That is their staple. Aloo gosht is their staple to be a man in Pakistan.
Why do people think that? Because everyone said that about my husband, and all he eats is, he literally requests me to make chicken and salad, and it's like I can make that in 15 minutes, and he loves it. Every time I make that, he's like, "Oh, babe, this is so good," and I'm like, "I made you a lasagna yesterday, slaved over it," and he's like, "Yeah, but this is so good," and I'm just like, "Fine." They're very simple creatures, actually. Um, but the whole thing, like, when do you even start? Like, what does marriage mean when you start? Like, no one told me. So I got married in Pakistan, and so I had my mehndi, and then the next morning I had my shadi. And I remember coming home from the mehndi like 3 a.m., really pumped, had a good time, but exhausted because obviously we were dancing. And the next morning I knew I had to be up really early, and I had like 3 hours left to sleep, and I was like, I need to shower. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to pack because I'm not coming back here tomorrow. But I'd been living, so I was staying in my cousin's room. I'd been staying in that room for 6 weeks, so there's a lot of stuff in that room that was mine, like not just makeup, but like all the clothes and all the books and all the everything. And no one told me that I had to pack. And to this day, I find it so bizarre that there was multiple people who've been married who were around me, but no one told me to do that. So then I think whatever I could find, I just quickly put in my suitcase that night after I had a shower, slept for 2 hours, and then went to the salon in the morning, and then left with him in the car. And then I was like, obviously I forgot so many things. I had to call my cousin and be like, can you get this, this, and this, and please bring it now because I forgot my toothbrush and I need to sleep in a bit. Like, it's also one of the reasons that we don't feel prepared about it is because no one tells you in plain black and white, that, oh, you're gonna leave from there to there, so make sure that you're packed, make sure that you've got this and this and this. No one talks about it. Your moms don't tell you because it's like, oh, we're so sad, hamara ghar chhod diye, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, but at least prepare me properly.
They also don't talk about the wedding night. I just want to make that clear. No one talks.
No one tells you about contraception. No one helps you out with expectations. No one says that if you're not comfortable, it's okay.
There's such a hype, like even like, yeah, what's the term? Swagarat. Like, there's such a hype around it. I don't even know what that means. If you're knackered, mate, you're knackered. You're not doing anything that night.
It is exhausting. Getting married is the most exhausting thing you will do in your life. You will be physically drained, you will be mentally drained, and honestly, you just want to sleep.
And I can't imagine it being any easier for the lad or for the man in this instance, right? Maybe he's not a lad, but the point being, I can't see it being any easier because you've also just got married, and then you just have someone coming into your life and they are just living with you, and you're used to doing things separately, especially if you live by yourself. There's a way that you do things. So, I don't think they prepare anyone. I don't think it's just the girl that don't prepare. I don't think they prepare boys either of the responsibility of what's to come. Or I definitely don't think they have the same conversations to be like, oh, to bacha kab karna hai? I'm like, why is that even a thing? I haven't even got married yet. Come on, I haven't even enjoyed myself. Like, I don't even know how to have kids. You never taught me. Please, let's not pretend like I know. I'm a Pakistani woman.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not
You said
boys.
bacha? Tell me how that happens, because you didn't tell me. The internet did, but please tell me how you happen. So you're not going to tell me about the process, but you're going to expect it from me. But the man doesn't get the same thing. But he definitely gets things, and I'm sure he does when it comes to like financial responsibility. And so how are you going to look after her, and what are you going to pay for? I didn't ask my man to pay for everything, and not me. A lot of girls don't. That's not the expectation. The expectation is that you will just look after me and you'll keep me safe, and we will kind of manage the finances or the workload. It's not like we don't live in a society anymore where the responsibilities of having and literally producing a child is on you as a woman, and the man still gets to just talk about the finances, because actually most of us now are degree educated, we've been working for a while, and we have a lot more awareness of the world. But I think it's crazy that like elders even trying to plan when you have kids. The conversations of, अच्छा तो एक साल शादीशुदा और फिर in the second year बच्चा होना चाहिए. I'm like, you don't know about my fertility. You don't know what's going on down there. How can you plan and make such big statements into the world without?
But more than that, you don't even know if I want to have kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's a choice. You don't know that. But this is the thing, like it really frustrates me because constantly, like, our elders always talk about marriage or getting married as you leaving their household, you going away, or getting like another, so they see the husband as a father figure, which I find really strange. It's like, oh yeah, you have to take his permission, and you have to, like, he's not my dad. I'm living in his house, but he's not my dad. The thing is, the one thing that they miss out when they talk about marriage, which is the most important thing, is partnership, companionship. And it blows my mind, because why would a girl or why would a man be treated equally or expect to be treated equally when the whole time you've been telling them that they still need to seek permission, or they still need to pretend like there's something else when they get married? It makes no sense to me.
completely mind-blowing.
Right.
And then you talk about marriage, and actually I read a really good tweet from actually the founder of Soul Sisters, Pakistan, Kabul, right? Kabul. I'm gonna say that's how you pronounce her name, but I'm sorry if it's not. Um, she actually tweeted the other day saying, Asian people still have such there's still something along the lines of, there's still such a big stigma when the daughters of Asian parents get divorced or they're unhappy in their marriages. And the point being, I loved it because it wasn't just talking about the fact that this happens or occurs. It's the fact that we have a lack of education before we go into marriage. So people aren't sitting there telling me all my options and saying, look, God forbid it doesn't work out, this is what you can do. They kind of set you up in the sense of, well, we had to endure it and you have to endure it too. And I say it very, very strong-heartedly that I really don't see a lot of happy couples around me. I don't see a lot of happy married couples around me. I definitely think generations and generations have been comfortable, have been complacent, and they've put up with a lot of crap. So the 3 C's that we just don't want to be. And they're okay with it, and I don't want to be okay with it. And I know for a fact my other half is not okay with it, right? He believes in equality and he believes in partnership. But the point being that why is it my elders are not talking to me about these things or the things that are important, but they're talking to me about like kids and expiry dates and what and making the food. Like, that's not even the basis and foundation, and that's not even the important stuff. Like, all of that you can learn. Cook with Pfizer on YouTube is our second mom in our house. She is the one who is really teaching us how to cook. And
like, other than that, you're right, none of this is important. This is all like way after you get married. No one even talks about what your rights are when you sign a nikah. Like, as a girl, even as a man, they don't tell you. You're signing a contract for your life and no one tells you what it is. You're not allowed to read it. As a girl, I was expected to be in a separate room from where the signing was taking place. And I refused. I'm sorry, if my husband to be is sitting in a separate room and signing a paper that binds him to me, why would I be in a separate room? One of my regrets is not being vocal enough about what I was actually signing, because I think it's a very strange experience, because technically you're just signing a paper, right? But your entire life is about to change. And I think if I would go back, the only thing I would do differently is definitely read the niqab properly. Not that I have any doubts or anything about it, but just to educate myself, just to make sure that my rights are in there, my rights to divorce are in there, my rights to, financial security are in there, all of that. Because a lot of people don't know what they're actually signing.
Yeah, and that's a valid point in any and every religion. Any and every religion, especially the religions that take up majority of kind of the South Asian culture, do not give the premise, or do not give that kind of vocal ability to the woman. It's you go, you sit, and the man signs it. And again, I have no doubt that my other half will support me and back me. But it's nice for me to know what I'm signing, and to do it in a way where it's inclusive. And also, you know, just the point of like surnames, actually religion, culture, tradition are three different things. So in religion, you don't have to change your surname, but culturally and traditionally you do. And they haven't actually told you otherwise. And it just blows my mind that you want to do this.
But it's not even cultural norms of now, they're cultural norms of 25 years ago that are still carrying on. Like, fine, 30 years ago, if you didn't have any property to your name as a woman, it was fine. Because back then, you probably did not have a biomedical degree that you could use to become a doctor and support your family. You probably did drop out of school after doing basic education, and you probably will have kids very soon because you won't have the options to travel as much. But we as human beings have evolved. This is the thing, like, so many girls study, have masters, PhDs, but what's the point of it all if they feel the stigma of not working after they get married? I remember when it was a few months before I got married, and my uncle was sitting there. He's quite religious, and love him to bits, and he said something like, oh, you know, you should stop working once you're married. And I was like, why? And he's like, your responsibility is in the house, and you know, you should make sure that everything in the house is in place and dinner's ready and all of that. And I was like, again, I say I'm very Battamese because I just say what I'm thinking, even though I don't think I'm being Battamese. And I literally said to him, I was like, if that was my purpose, the only thing I would have is a uterus and arms. Why would Allah give me the same brain, the same ability to make the decisions that a man can make, the same legs and hands and arms that I can do the work that he's doing, the same eyes and mouth and nose to be able to speak the way that he does? Why would Allah give me any of that if the expectation or my reason for being was just to procreate and make sure dinner's on the table on time? So I don't buy it. And also, going back to how, you know, culture and religion is completely confused, it really frustrates me because people talk about how, oh, you know, men should take care of women, and after you get married you should stay home and take care of everything at home. But like, are you forgetting that Hazrat Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet, was a businesswoman, and she recruited him? He worked for her while they were still married. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that she was un-Islamic? Because that's haram. You can't say that, bro. Like, I just don't understand why culture takes such deep root. And that's where a lot of problems come from, these expectations. Because yes, girls study and do their PhDs, and then obviously they want to do something about it, but they can't, because it's frowned upon if you work really hard after you get married, because people shame you. People openly shame you. They say, oh, she's too career driven, she's not focused on her husband or anything. But your husband's not a child. If you're both working 9 to 5, 9 to 7, and you come back and have dinner together, that's fine. That's what we do. We're both working people. We don't see each other for breakfast or throughout the day, but we're texting because we have communication sources. And then we come home, we have dinner, we might watch an episode on TV, and then we go to sleep. And then the weekend we can actually spend time together. It's completely normal.
Yeah, and I definitely know a lot of instances where, you know, not just in the Islamic kind of religion, but in Sikhism, in Hinduism, in Christianity, a lot of girls are feeling the pressure because, again, culturally, the woman must abide and the man must be free, if I was to put it in simplistic terms. And again, the bases are all the same. You know, actually most religious books does have a really prominent female lead or female character, or someone who has really established themselves and is thriving for that equality or that change and that impact. And yet, as time's flown, we've forgotten about that one main character that really existed and helped things to thrive, and we've put all these other connotations around it. And it absolutely makes no sense. But I guess the other point that I wanted to pick up on is, it also kind of upsets me to think that the people that are closest to you, and of course sometimes they do it with the best intention, can say things like, you have to change yourself to find someone, or you're never going to find someone like this, or we're waiting for the day that you bring someone back, or that they just bring it upon themselves to think that they know what's best for you. Like, oh, you don't want someone like that because you're like this. I'm like, but you don't actually know what I'm like because you're not with me 24/7, and my brain works differently. But this is the kind of person that will be good for you because you're this kind of personality. I'm like, yeah, but I'm that personality because you made me that way and you gave me the permission to be. So are you now blaming yourself? And secondly, what's wrong with me? Like, come on, why is it wrong to be this personality?
That's the heartbreaking part, isn't it? That, like you said, the people closest to you sort of, in a way, they don't have faith in you. And it's across the board. You can be a really shy person and they'll be like, no, you need to get more confident. You can be a really confident person and they'll tell you that you need to calm down a little bit. You can be really ambitious and they can say, bring it down because you don't want your future husband to be threatened by your success. And you could be really unmotivated and just chilling at home and they can be like, you're not ambitious, that's not attractive at all. So whatever kind of person you are, there will always be someone telling you to be the opposite. You know, because everyone thinks they knows best.
Completely. My other half has evolved so much, so now he literally says it himself and says it to his friends and everyone around him to be like, invest in your woman, like invest in her. She will make us rich. She will make us rich spiritually and mentally and physically, because once a female is driven and they are ambitious, they will go after what they want and they will get it, and they're very determined. And I think it's so beautiful that terminology or that mindset has come, especially when even as a boy you're raised with certain expectations and with certain cultural kind of stigmas placed upon you, you know, from everything from when boys grow up, it's like, well, you have to be a banker, or you have to be an accountant, or you have to be a doctor,
because you have to provide for a family,
because you can't be a nurse, come on, you can't be a painter, you can't be an artist, you cannot be a dancer, you know. And actually a lot of things, like you can't be a cook, when actually most of the top shelves in the world are still men. So you can only be a cook or a fashion designer if you make it. Anything under that you can't be. And obviously females are most definitely changing that, but the point being that on the flip side, I feel really bad for boys who have these like social stigmas placed on them as since they've been a kid, to mentally to be like, well, we must only be the breadwinners, like, you know, we must only have to make money, we don't have any responsibility of the kids. And it's no, you do, but actually we should blame your parents a bit and society for making you feel like that's the box that you fit into.
No, I completely agree. And as you said before, he's an advocate of, you know, investing in your woman, but I think equally we should be able to invest in our men as well, and not just for money. They're not just piggy banks. I don't want to marry a piggy bank, you know. It needs to be so much more than that. And it's very hard because that's the expectation that's been on them for centuries. But as much as we fight against the expectations placed on us, we need to understand that there's also expectations placed on them. And I think the only way that we can truly fix it, or, you know, create some sort of change, is by going into it thinking of it as a partnership and working together and understanding likes and dislikes and adjusting. You know, marriage is hard work. You have to adjust. You're learning about each other, and respecting one another is the most important thing.
I definitely feel a lot more prepared. I definitely think we do like a checklist or something to be like, this is what happens when you get married, and this is what you need to do when you're married, and this is what your first month can look like. I'd love that, actually. I'd love someone to like give me some kind of calendar to be like, here's the first month of marriage, do things as a couple. Actually, a couple of months ago, I went to one of my friend's brunches. She was doing it for charity, and she had another kind of South Asian woman who attended. And, you know, bear in mind, this particular female runs a feminist company, I'd say, a particular kind of, I don't want to go into detail because obviously someone's going to listen to this and be like, you're talking about me. But this particular woman runs a feminist clothing company. And I don't think she meant it like this, but my hair was much shorter at that point. So my hair was like up to my shoulders. And I remember they were talking about my wedding, and they were like, "Oh, so you're getting married? Like, are you gonna wear a red lehenga? What is it gonna look like?" They're like, "Oh, you're most definitely gonna put extensions in, right?" I was like, "No." They were like, "Oh, but how can you get married with short hair? Like, you want to have that Asian bride look where you have long hair and your hair's up, half down. That would look really nice with curls at the bottom and a nice red lehenga, and like your dupatta on your head." I was like, "No, I'm gonna probably cut my hair short again. I really like short hair." They're like, "Oh, but no, but your mother-in-law won't like that. Like, how can you? Oh, come on, like, that's not how Asians get married. Like, if you need an extension placed, I have an extension place that do really good hair." And I'm just thinking, how can you, in that conversation, how many things have you just said that is anti your movement? You've told me that you can only get married if you have long hair. I'm going to upset my mother-in-law. You don't know my mother-in-law. She's good with it. She likes my hair. I'm going to upset her if my hair is not long. That I have to wear a dupatta on my head, which I'm not doing because honestly my hair is way too nice for that. So I'm not going to do that anyway. And lastly, that there's a typical way to get married and to be an Asian bride. And I walked out of that thinking, I think I've genuinely lost a lot of respect for you.
That's sad. That is really sad. But again, this is the thing. See, I don't think people say that to put you down or to say something that's against their movement. It's just that is the norm, and for them it was just an everyday discussion. It wasn't even, there was no questioning, and that's just how everyone does it, so why wouldn't you do it? But the whole hair cutting thing is a very interesting topic, and I do want to talk about it one day, because it's a lot of people just consider short hair to be ugly or unattractive, or girls are not allowed to cut their hair. Like, it blows my mind. And the whole lehenga and wearing a dupatta on your head thing, I completely agree. It's a very personal choice, and no one should be expecting that of you. I didn't have a dupatta on my head because I refused. I felt like I wouldn't be me if I put a dupatta on my head, because I just don't wear one. And I didn't want to be a bride on my wedding. I wanted to be me on my wedding. So one of the days I did for half an hour because I wanted to make my mom happy. But the rest of the days I was like, absolutely not. I am not wearing one on my head because that's not me. And I am not flaky enough to pretend like I'm someone else on my own wedding day. Because everyone who's there has seen me without a dupatta. And everyone who's there knows who I am. Or if there's someone who doesn't know me, then they shouldn't be there in the first place, because that's a whole nother pet peeve of mine, with like a million people at your wedding that don't even know who you are. But yeah, this is an exhausting topic because there's so many different sides to it. There's everything that we've spoken about like the expectations. I think one of the reasons that it prevails is because some women actually prefer not doing anything and just living off someone else's money, and it's just an easy way out of living your life, going to brunches and making friends and having fun. And at the same time, there's a lot of ego issues that men want to be the breadwinner, because if they're not, that will hurt their ego because they're fragile, and that's how they've been raised. So there's so many different things.
Yeah, I definitely feel more comfortable getting married, and this week I have actually spent asking friends, and it turns out I do have a few married friends in my circle. So asking them, just being like, what do you do? One of my friends just moved houses with her partner. They've been married for a couple of years. I've actually known her since we were in primary school. It's crazy, and we got back in touch a couple of months ago. And anyway, so she just moved house, and that's one of the questions I asked her. I was like, right, so you've moved house. Like, what do you do when you're married and in quarantine? Like, what? Tell me. And she's like, it's really not even that deep. She's like, you're actually overthinking it for no reason. I was like, I know I am, but
I think you really are.
I mean, I know, but I'm a little bit scared. And the thing,
and that's fine. That's natural.
Is it? Because
It is. I was terrified.
Okay.
Because for me personally, I never wanted to get married at all. I didn't, because the understanding of marriage that I had was all the things that you're saying, like an Asian wedding or Asian marriage, you know? And that's not something I wanted in my life. So I never wanted to be that wife. But meeting my partner and understanding that actually that's not the way all marriages have to be. Like, you make your own rules. That was a tipping point for me, where I realized actually it's not marriage I hate, it's a specific understanding of it that I don't like. But now it's really not, like your friend said, it's really not that deep. You're just living together, and you have your own lives, you have a life together, and it's really fun because, I don't know, I've been having a lot of friends since I've been married. I've traveled a lot, and because we have so many similar interests, we've been able to do things together that I wouldn't have as much fun doing with anyone else in the world. And yeah, those are the things you should be looking forward to. You should be looking forward to things like skydiving with your partner, or traveling the world, or, you know.
I'm just looking forward to honestly, I'm just looking forward to baking him the peanut butter cookies that I learned. That's as much as it's got to. I'm like, I've made peanut butter cookies, I'll put some protein into it, you're gonna love it. This is gonna be your gym snack. So that's as much as my excitement goes. And that's what so my friend Roweda, that's exactly what she was just saying on WhatsApp, being like, you know what, don't get into these expectations, these cultural kind of mindsets. It's going to be a little bit difficult, it's going to be a bit rocky, but that's just because you guys are merging and you're compromise, but enjoy it and enjoy the ride. And ultimately that's your best friend. Like, you're choosing to be with that person. Of course it would be different if I had never met them, or if I'm not choosing, you know, kind of arrange, or most definitely forced marriages is something I'm forced marriages I'm definitely not into, so that's a whole different topic. But, you know, ultimately, and I think you've echoed it, just have fun and not worry. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm an overthinker. I'm also an oversharer, which makes no sense because it doesn't help my brain, it doesn't help you. But I'm glad that I have like married friends, and I'm sure after married friends, my next questions would be like, how do you have a baby? What do you do when you have a baby? What am I meant to do when I'm a mother?
I wouldn't know.
What's gonna happen? You don't know yet, but when you get there,
I'll let you know if it happens.
I need all the details before I go into this, I think.
But being scared is normal. In fact, it's healthy. You're making a massive change in your life. If you're not scared, that means that you're not excited about it, because excitement is a type of fear. And, you know, you're completely changing the way that you live, and you get to live with someone who you love, and it's going to be very different. And it's scary because it's a new learning curve, and it should be scary, because otherwise, why are you doing it?
My name is Sonya, and my beautiful co-host is Zoha. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. Please do get in touch via our socials, which are at LKKG Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and LKKG Podcast at gmail.com.